Good afternoon, everybody. I can see we've got a full house in here for the 2 o'clock session. Thank you, I appreciate it. This should be relatively straightforward. I'm hoping that some of you that are more technical take some nuggets out of this. But when you only have 20 minutes to present on a topic as large as on-premises versus cloud, many times you can't get too into the weeds. So if you have questions about anything that I go over today, feel free to come to Access booth 1414. My name is Vincent Camposano. I'll be happy to answer any of your questions, and if I'm not available, we got all kinds of knowledgeable people over there as well. So today we are going to be talking about cloud-based video management systems versus on-premises video management systems. So the first question that we might consider is, why the heck are we here? Well, obviously, it's good to understand this technology. It's not new, but it can be different from solution to solution. And while it may seem like these solutions are relatively similar at the surface level, when you get below the iceberg, deep into the water, they can be very different. So the first piece is understanding architecture. That's for on-premises, cloud-based, and then, of course, hybrid solutions. The second consideration is determining the benefits, challenges, and opportunities associated with video operation, maintenance of devices and the system itself, and storage across these different architectures. Now, I see some people taking photos. I do believe these slides are made available to all of you, so you don't necessarily have to sit there and take photos if you don't need to. The final piece here is making sure that you leave being informed to make decisions, whether that's from a systems integration perspective or from an end customer perspective on what solution works best in what situation. So let's start with VMS architecture. For many of you, this is probably going to be foundational, but if we have anybody who is unfamiliar with on-premises versus cloud, this is going to be a nice level set for what we're about to talk about when it comes to benefits, opportunities, and challenges. The first thing we can consider is on-premises. Many times this is server-based, right? This means that there is a server running the video operation portion of the VMS on a customer's site or at a customer location. And in these cases, either the end user who is using the system or the integrator who installed it are the ones necessary for maintenance, right? It could be a maintenance contract, it could just be in-house maintenance, but this is supported by either the systems integrator or the end customer. In these cases, video is also generally stored on that server or at the customer location. And one thing that many people don't necessarily think about is that these solutions may feature certain cloud aspects. It's really bright up here. I can't see many hands, but for our manufacturers and system integrators in the room, who here has had somebody ask for a cloud solution? Just raise a hands. I see some hands go up. When you began to explore what they actually wanted, was it actually cloud, or was it, I saw someone laughing and saying, no, yeah, they want to see it on their mobile phone, right? I want my video on my mobile phone. That's why it's good to understand these things. But these certain solutions could feature aspects of cloud. Now, on-premises VMS architecture is extremely simple, but it's good to at least touch on it. You have devices. Those devices plug into a switch. That provides power and network connectivity. That touches a server. Of course, locally, this is very simple and easy to access. And then via the wide area network or the internet, you are then able to get a remote connection. That WAN connection also provides optional cloud services. At Access, we offer a product called Access Camera Station Pro. This is our version of an on-premises solution. It's effectively a professional operator-driven VMS with access control built in. No need to touch on this for too long. If you have any questions on ACS Pro, you can shoot over to the Access booth. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you might have. When we look at cloud architecture, however, you can consider this many times serverless. And while it's true that there's not necessarily no server, the server just doesn't exist at a customer location. Many times video operation and the software itself is running in the cloud, off-site, and maintenance-wise, this could be supported either by the end customer themselves, an integrator, or the manufacturer. A little bit different than what we talked about with on-premises, generally speaking. Video, in this case, is stored off-site, but we'll talk about the nuance of that here momentarily. And like how on-premises features certain aspects of cloud, cloud also may feature certain aspects of on-premises, specifically when it comes to video storage. Many cloud serverless solutions today aren't necessarily going video straight from the device up to the cloud and out to an off-site server. Infrastructure just doesn't support it in most cases. So when I say that cloud solutions have aspects of on-premises, many times the video is being stored on-prem. Could be within an SD card or a solid-state drive inside the device itself or on an appliance. Now, very easy to access this locally. You have a device that plugs into a switch, and as long as you can access the network and have the proper user credentials, this is something that you can see. But when it shoots up to the cloud, that's where we establish that remote connection. And then, of course, this is where cloud storage comes into play. Now, I'm not saying this is how every single solution out there acts and which system's architecture is truly represented here. It's important to understand that there is nuance. This is just a basic breakdown. At Axis, we offer Axis Camera Station Edge, which is a serverless option which records at the device and then is accessed via the cloud and has optional cloud storage. Once again, that's a juxtaposition, ACS Pro or Axis Camera Station Pro and on-premises, and Axis Camera Station Edge and serverless cloud-based. Now, on the first slide, I talked about on-premises, cloud, and hybrid. And you might be saying, well, we just talked about how on-premises has aspects of cloud and how cloud has aspects of on-premises. Isn't that hybrid, Vince? And I would say, dear audience, not necessarily. When we talk about hybrid solutions, I define this as being able to take that on-premises solution and that cloud solution, serverless and server-based, and combining them in a single user interface. This is something some solutions offer. It is something other solutions do not. It's important to understand and go around to all the different providers here and educate yourselves on the nuance of who can do what and who can aggregate what. As it relates to Axis, we do this with an aggregation license called ACS Center. It allows for the aggregation of on-premises Pro and serverless Edge systems to be aggregated into a single user interface in our web dashboard. We also offer cloud storage as an option to add on to either the on-premises or the serverless solution. Now, what this looks like holistically and across many solutions is that there's an aggregation software or some type of interface that allows you to pull these systems together. In many instances, this includes things like video operation, viewing the video, pulling recorded video, device management, so managing your devices via the cloud, license management, and in also many cases, user management. So these are all something to consider or things to consider whether you're an end customer looking to deploy a system and keep it flexible, or you're a systems integrator and you want to be able to target different aspects of the market or increase the value that you provide to existing customers. So now that we've had that level set, it's important to talk about the benefits, the challenges, and the opportunities associated to a couple different aspects of each system, on-prem versus cloud. So we have three considerations here. The first of which is video operation. So when we look at the benefits and opportunities and challenges, where can we improve? Where can we identify shortfalls? And of course, what can we do to improve our existing systems as it relates to video operation? Next piece is device and overall system maintenance. And the final piece is storage. Storage is a big one, so I'm finishing up with it because it's probably the most complex. So when we look at video operation, I'm going to try to explain this chart to you. The way we're going to go through this is cloud first. We're going to talk about the benefits, go to the challenges, and then we're going to finish up with the opportunities down there on the bottom. Once we finish up with cloud, I'll kick it over to on-premises, starting with video operation. One of the main benefits of video operation as it relates to cloud systems is that it is just extremely convenient and incredibly simple. Many times these solutions are running on the web. There's no client software that needs to be installed or maintained or updated, and everybody knows how to use a web browser. I hope that everybody here in the audience uses the internet. Generally speaking, these cloud solutions replicate the tools that we use every day, making it convenient to learn and extremely easy to deploy. It's a huge benefit for video operation. The challenge here is infrastructure. right? Many times for these solutions, there can be issues with existing customer infrastructure. For our systems integrators out there, I can assure you that I understand your pain when you go into a customer's site and see that they don't have adequate infrastructure and are asking for a complex solution that requires a lot of bandwidth. And this can create issues with latency. Now, Axis Camera Station Edge is not released yet, but I have worked with systems in the field where we have seen latency due to network infrastructure issues between 7 and 10 seconds. For some customers, that's acceptable, but for other customers, it's not going to fly, especially schools. Unfortunately, in emergency situations, when you run into situations like this where the infrastructure can't support the system, 7 to 10 seconds is a big deal, especially if a lot of people are logging into the system during those situations. The nice thing here, opportunity-wise, is that if you have a cloud solution with an open API and that manufacturer or solution provider is willing to integrate, you have a world of options when it comes to including IoT devices. Kicking it over to on-premises, you're going to see a juxtaposition between cloud and on-prem, by the way. Many times, it's extremely robust, right? This is a system that is running effectively inside of a controlled environment, and many times it can be very low latency, especially if everything is taking place within the local area network. However, you run into some complexity when it comes to software. Now, you can access many on-premises systems with a web client, but in the event you want fully featured or a fully featured experience, which many web clients do not offer, you don't have to install client software. You have to update that client software. It adds a layer of complexity to system deployment as well as video operation and maintenance. Very similar opportunity to cloud is if you have an open API, you have the opportunity for customized integrations, right? Maybe you need POS integration because you work in retail. Maybe you need health monitoring integration because you're a healthcare provider, right? There's a lot of different things that can occur on that on-prem system that might not be able to occur on a cloud solution. As we move to maintenance, you're going to see some similarities here as well, but when we start with cloud and look at benefits, once again, it is extremely convenient. Maintenance is going to take place within a web-based environment, most likely, and in many cases, it's going to be automatic. Now, I know certain solution providers offer automatic firmware and OS updates. I know some do not, and I do know that some have the option, but this can be convenient. For some customers, though, they might not want those automatic updates, especially if an integration is built that upgrade can break. The next piece is that you might have less control. Because you might not be able to control those updates, this is something that you should consider. I'm not saying that it's good or bad, but this might come into play when you're deciding whether or not you want to use a system like this or not. The other piece here is network infrastructure and network quality. If you're deciding to upgrade when you choose, you know the network's up, you might not be doing any maintenance on it. However, automatic updates might not be planned, or you might miss the notification that they're planned. So keep in mind that this is something to consider as well. Last piece here is a benefit for cloud, or rather an opportunity, is that it can save a lot of time for a systems integrator or an end customer when it comes to automatic maintenance, right? This is a big value proposition. Moving over to on-premises, you have complete control of those upgrades. Also, you can vet the upgrade yourself. Does anybody here use a Windows machine? Show of hands, I can barely see. Everybody here is on Mac? Okay, cool. So I see some people with Windows machines. Second question, who here updates their Windows machine as soon as the update comes out? One. I like to vet upgrades to make sure that it doesn't necessarily break my laptop. This is something that plays into an on-premises solution. A challenge, however, is that you have to understand that you need to update those things. I've come across customers that haven't upgraded the firmware on their devices in over a year. It's like, Mr. Customer, would you please update the OS on your devices? This is a big deal. That being said, it's something that they have to be aware of. It adds complexity to the system and to the deployment. The final piece here for an opportunity is that you are able to leverage cloud-based tools. Different manufacturers offer different solutions here. I can speak from the Axis Communications perspective. We have something called Axis Device Manager Extend, which allows customers, regardless of their VMS, as long as they're using Axis devices, to upgrade them, manage the OS, manage the lifecycle, see the warranty, see what the replacement device is, all via a cloud login or a web client. So that's something that can be leveraged here as an opportunity for an on-prem system if that's something you want to take advantage of as a customer. Final piece here is storage. This is where things can get a little confusing. Cloud-based storage is beneficial because, one, it can provide peace of mind, and that peace of mind can come from it not being on your site. The nice thing here is that liability-wise, that data exists somewhere else. However, keep in mind, many times that data still exists on your site, whether that's being recorded to an SD card on the edge or via an appliance, and many times in the cloud, that video is simply just redundant backup. The challenge here is that, once again, you have less control. And a question arises of who actually owns the video. When you're looking at these solutions, it's important to understand what happens if this is a subscription-based solution if you don't pay your subscription. Now, it's different from vendor to vendor, but it's extremely important to understand what those consequences might be. And it's also important to understand and be comfortable with who actually owns your video. Another thing here, as it relates to less control, is that you might not be able to decide where that video is being stored. In many instances, you can choose the region. Maybe you want it stored in the United States if you're in the US, in the EU if you are in the EU, Canada if you're in Canada, but where exactly in those locations, probably not going to be up to you. The final piece here, as it relates to opportunities, is you get redundancy in addition to on-site recording. This is huge. For serverless cam-to-cloud solutions, I say always have cloud redundancy backup for cameras that are in mission-critical areas, recording mission-critical video, or are on the exterior of a facility. Why is that? Well, if you are recording to an SD card on that device and somebody steals that device, they might not be able to pull the video off that SD card due to encryption, but you just lost your ability to access it if you don't have a cloud backup. Same thing could be said for lightning strikes, same thing could be said for anything that happens to critical video. So cloud redundancy is extremely important and a great opportunity and a great benefit. When it comes to on-premises storage, yes, you have greater control. You own the server, you own the video, you own the drives, and that means that you control who accesses the video and where that video lives. The challenge here is you have to maintain those systems and you have to give that server a proper environment. When I used to work in the field, I used to go into places where there would be servers literally hanging by the power cord. There were servers that were inside of electrical boxes filled with dirt and water, right? Like, people don't always take proper care of the thing that runs their surveillance system. It's important to have these in an access-controlled IT closet with proper air conditioning and temperature control, proper maintenance, somebody who knows how to maintain it, and if you run into this, a floor that's been reinforced to manage all the way to the servers. I did run into that once with an A&E. Final piece here is cost-effective expansion. Now, when it comes to storage with on-premises, it can be expensive up front. But when you juxtapose 6 cameras of cloud storage or serverless solution to the cost of 6 cameras on premises, yeah, cloud serverless might make more sense. If you take that to 60, maybe it still makes more sense. Take it to 600, maybe it's evening out. Take it to 6,000, now owning your own storage is probably more beneficial. And that's going to be a price distinction that you'll have to determine for your organization or for your customer. Now, there's going to be a handful of key takeaways here that I want you to leave with coming out of this presentation, which has been, I will admit, relatively high level, but I hope that you all took a nugget out of this. I always say do the math. Consider what you need and what your existing infrastructure will support. You need to understand the requirements of the system and whether or not you will need to perform any type of infrastructural upgrade to support that system. Do the math, make sure it makes sense. The next piece is to ensure the solution meets your long-term expansion requirements. If you are starting with 10 cameras and expanding to 10,000, it could be beneficial to start with on-premises, or if you have the option, convert from cloud to on-premises. Different manufacturers and solution providers offer different things, but it's good to understand what this upgrade process looks like. And finally, we didn't talk about this because it's a 20-minute conversation in itself, but weigh the benefits and challenges against the total cost of ownership of the entire solution and understand what that 5 and 10-year spend looks like. That's all I had for you. If you have any questions, please come to Access Booth 1414. I highly suggest all of you go and talk to the solution providers here and develop a robust understanding of cloud and on-premises solutions. Thanks.